Hey, it's Mark from Periphery. I'm here with the prototype of my signature guitar. So we started developing this guitar about a year ago, laying down ideas and basically overall bird's eye view thoughts of what this guitar was going to be. And I wanted to have a very classic PRS feel, but with sort of modern shred elements to it. A huge component of my playing is kind of having a longer scale on the neck. This is a 25.5-inch scale. While I've always loved the PRS feel, this makes it a little bit less cramped on the upper register, and I really like that I have somewhat longer fingers. So the 25.5-inch scale works for that, as well as keeping a higher tension for lower tunings, which Periphery use quite frequently. You know, you always hear these nightmare stories about guitars being in development for years because there's just something going wrong on the development side, or the artist doesn't know what he wants. But this guitar was nailed right off the bat. From the very first show I played with it, it kind of transformed the way I play in a very strange way. It was just an effortless thing. It felt like an extension of my hands rather than a tool I was using. So one of the main features on the guitar is the 20-inch fretboard radius. I'm a big fan of flatter radiuses on the neck. It makes the wide vibrato and bends a little bit easier, and there's a little bit less resistance when you're bending, and that's a huge benefit to this guitar. It's a mahogany body, maple neck, and a nice quilted top here. So another main characteristic of the guitar is the new bridge that PRS built to suit the string-through body. Has a little bit more sustain than a tremolo guitar. Years ago, I started to experiment with satin finishes, not just because I like the look aesthetically, but the feel. On stage, I tend to sweat a lot, so this guitar has a satin finish on the back of the neck, which makes it so it doesn't stick. With a glossy finish, you tend to be a little bit awkward and stumbly if there's other elements involved, like the heat. And it combines well with the pattern thin neck shape, which is it's a little bit thinner and allows for a little bit quicker playing than average. So the color that we have here is a new one that we designed at PRS. I wanted it to be a black guitar, basically, but have a little bit of color. And the guitar will be available in 5 different colors, but this one is sort of my mainstay, and my main guitars will have this color. These are my custom Seymour Duncan pickups here, and they were prototyped and built in the 3 days I spent out at the Seymour Duncan headquarters, and they were tested for this guitar specifically. The bridge pickup was meant to be very, very aggressive sounding, but at the same time still have enough dynamics to make it very articulate and just kind of versatile. I have an interesting taste in neck pickups, but I like to have that fatter sound, of course, as a neck pickup, but still enough pick attack to where if you choke up on the pick a little bit, you can get that articulation and get that sort of attack. So I discovered PRS in the late 90s. I had a friend who let me borrow his, I think it was a custom 22, and that guitar was just, it struck a chord with me because it had this balance of being a classic. It was a classic guitar. It looked and sounded classy, but it wasn't a shred stick, nor was it something that was so classy I felt it was inaccessible. It was sort of in the middle, and I fell in love with it immediately. And I've been obsessed with it ever since. So going on 16 years now, I've sort of fetishized PRS, and now it's a dream to have my own signature model. It's just one constant that I can always just count on being there. We flew, it was like a DC to Tokyo flight or something like that, and we get to the venue and I open up my case for the first time since DC, and it's in tune. It's perfectly in tune. I kind of laughed and I showed the other guys, and then they thought I was lying, but it was actually this guitar. It stayed completely in tune, and that's just the kind of thing I'm talking about. Is there's just a constant ability to rely on this guitar for anything. I've never had a problem with any of these guitars on stage, from the intonation to the setup to anything going wrong, and that's a level of quality I think goes hand in hand with PRS, and you can't put a price tag on that kind of stuff.